Ladies and gentlemen, now to this election's most underrated and underreported story. If you've already had the opportunity to vote in this Lok Sabha election so far, chances are that you've had to brave the blazing heat, 40 degrees, 45 degrees, to uphold your civic duty. Maybe you did want to cast your vote but couldn't because it was simply too hot to handle. You're not alone. India has been dealing with unprecedented heat waves ever since the beginning of April, and especially bearing the brunt has been the eastern and the peninsular part of India. Now, this extreme summer has also seen India go to vote in its largest election yet, spread across 7 phases across April and May, with almost 97 crore people expected to vote. Now, something has to give, and perhaps that is why the voter turnout in all 3 phases held so far has been underwhelming. Look at the context. Globally, each month has been setting a new heat record. The last 10 months, since June 2023, have been the hottest on record, courtesy a Super El Nino. April 2024 also seems to be following similar temperature trends and will most likely be the 11th hottest month in a row. Can you imagine that? The Met Department has already predicted more than double the average heat waves during April and June, 10 to 20 days of heat waves, against a normal of 4 to 8 days to be precise. That is what we are dealing with. The heat this year is expected to be worse than 2023, which has been the warmest year on record till date. But what compounds the spectre of global warming is El Nino, an oceanic phenomenon that brings warmer weather throughout the globe and can increase the risk of extreme weather. Just for perspective, the El Nino in 2015-2016 coincided with the hottest year on record, while the Super El Nino in 2023 surpassed it as the warmest year. Now, given the way the mercury is soaring, setting records every year, can we really afford to have summer elections anymore? Should this be the last? Why can we not have elections in September and October or February and March? What's the problem? Can India avoid summer elections? Well, the prospect is tricky, given the relentless scheduling of India's election calendar. But it's not impossible. After all, historically, elections in India have rarely been held during summer. It's only after the Vajpayee government in 2004 that had very overconfidently preponed the elections, originally stated for September that year, that the election window became April-May, a trend that has now continued in the last 2 decades. India's politics has often been accused of neglecting climate change, but it seems inevitable that climate change will soon influence India's politics and its elections. Will it? Dr. S.Y. Qureshi is a former Chief Election Commissioner. He's joining us on the broadcast. Dr. Qureshi, ऐसी क्या मजबूरी है that in the middle of a sweltering summer, where heat waves are increasing, as our data has just shown us, that India is forced to go and vote? Why can't we have elections in more pleasant weathers? What's the problem?
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, this has been a cycle for the last so many years, so which needs to break now because the heat is increasing. And in any case, you know, we have been having multi-phase elections for the last so many years, so far for a good reason. But I have been saying that the times have changed and we have to reconsider those reasons. The only reason we do multiple phases is the requirement of paramilitary force, which is limited. There was a time 20 years ago when there used to be 100 full-day murders. So to make elections safe, paramilitary forces started getting deployed, and then every party wanted that these forces should be sent. They are outsiders. They cannot be influenced by the local politicians. Now, there are so many other safety measures that we have taken. If I were to count them, it will take me half an hour. So elections have become peaceful anyway. So now our dependence on paramilitary force in any case is not a long-term desirable idea. It should change, and one-day poll is a better idea, particularly in the context of the social media explosion, which is causing more harm than good now. the 3, 4 days, 5 days, which forces take to pack up from one place to go to the next place to the third place. Now the gundas travel faster. They have faster supercars. They move faster, and they create all kinds of problems. So therefore, that thing has to change. Secondly, because of social media, fake news, hate news, all kinds of things which are happening, which are damaging the electoral democracy of the country and giving us a bad name. It needs to change.
Dr. Qureshi.
Election in one day is possible. It is doable.
Okay.
And I have written in several articles that in 33 days, we can do the poll and get out. And you will see how peaceful it is and how orderly the election is.
But Dr. Qureshi, my question is, why pick summer? आप कह रहे हो one poll, one day is possible. But if we pick that day on May 10th or May 15th, God knows what all of us will have to bear standing in line to cast our vote. And
You're
it's
right,
not just us as voters, it's even the election commission, it's even the paramilitary forces, it's even the politicians who go out and for 44 grueling days in this summer heat are campaigning. गर्मियों ही में क्यों? What is so special about the heat?
The reason was that month of March is a kind of a holy cow because of the examination month. The schools are busy, children are busy, teachers are busy. Where with the result, the polling stations are not available in the month of March. So which means February is the ideal date in February. And if we go by my advice, do it in 1 month. February is the month. By 10th of February, you are done with it and go ahead with your normal routine. Yes, we need to change the time. And February, March is the ideal time, and it can be advanced. And at the same time, we have to remember that we cannot force the children to come out to do their examination in heat. They also have to finish it by the end of March, mid-April latest.
Okay, so, but my last question is, does the election commission, I know there are schedules, and there is a timing to every election, Dr. Qureshi, because there's a particular time in which the government has to be sworn in, etc. But does the election commission at all consider the weather when it is deciding on dates of elections?
Yes, it does. It does. It looks at about 10 different aspects. Examination is one, harvesting season, sowing season, weather, flood, drought, all these things where election commission looks at. But the time has come when, with a heavy hand, election commission has to take this decision and advance the election by 2-3 months, which is doable, and that will become the cycle for the future. It's easy. It's not impossible at all. In fact, even now, the 7 phases
it's easy for all political parties.
So many. Yeah, we have been doing 7 phases for the last so many years. But this time, even the gap between various phases is unduly long. We never give between 2 phases more than 4 days. Now, 7 days, 11 days. What kind of phasing is this? So this raises lots of questions. So this is what is prolonging the election. So even when phases were required, it could have been in a shorter duration, at least by shorter by 2 weeks.
True. We'll leave it there, Dr. Qureshi. You're saying it's absolutely doable to end elections by February 10th to February 15th if the election commission so chooses. But for that, you'll have to have all political parties come together and agree on it. Unfortunately, we have a political climate where our political parties don't agree on anything. That is the big problem. We'll leave it there for the moment, Dr. Qureshi. Thank you very much. Introducing my guest this evening, Aarti Khosla is founder at Climate Trends, joining us on the broadcast. Tathagat Satpathy is a 4-time MP of the Lok Sabha. He's also an editor at the Orissa Post. He's joining us on the broadcast. Tathagat Satpathy, can I just come to you and ask you, why on earth are politicians okay and netas okay with having elections in midsummer? I mean, yes, for the voter, it's a pain, but that pain is only for a day. But for the neta, the pain is for 30 days, 40 days of campaigning. It can't be easy on them either.
I personally think it is good that the leaders, the netas, have to go out in the scorching heat because they literally get the heat on them and they feel that they should feel that this is the heat they should have throughout their 5-year term. So it's not bad. But that's on a lighter note. On a more serious note, this is a warning bell that politicians, policymakers, those who decide the fate of the country for the next 5 years, also experience climate change, experience what is happening to the people, what is happening to agriculture, what is happening to drinking water, what is happening to people working outside, not in air conditioned offices, not the white collar, blue collar people, but those who actually are the backbones of this country. So it is good for them. They realize, and they also get scorched and sunburnt and fall ill. In Bhubaneswar, in Orissa especially, we have already had 1 or 2 sunstroke deaths. We've had many people hospitalized. We have also had many leaders coming out of their constituencies to bigger hospitals for treatment against sunstroke. So it's a very serious matter, but nobody seems to be concerned about it. And maybe this is the way nature has taken to teach representatives a lesson that they have to be more serious about what they do.
Aarti Khosla, our politicians don't take climate change seriously. We know that. And I think having elections, planning elections in the middle of peak summer, when your summer is only getting hotter, is a reflection of that. Do you think this is, do you think this is honestly the last summer election that is happening? Because every indication tells us that in the next 5 years, in 2019, by the time we get to 2029, if we hope to have elections in May, the voter turnout will be 40%. God knows I will not go and vote out if it's 48 degrees where I am. Aarti Khosla, that question was for you. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I think there is a bit of a lag. I can hear you. I heard the question. What about the next time? Logically speaking, next time we should have elections in the spring season. February, March is the most ideal time. A lot of the country is not having the heat waves. We don't have rains in that time. There is not much difficulty from that side. The forest fires have not set in, which have become a regular phenomena in the upper Himalayas. We are seeing hundreds of forest fires in Uttarakhand that are happening. We are seeing states that are going to have heat wave will vote at the time of the heat wave, which seems counterintuitive if you look at it from a climate point of view. At best, I think we will have to set some type of schedules. An election commission needs to do that kind of an all-party discussion where at least states that are expected to have a heat wave in that time are voting first. And even setting those kind of basic parameters right and changing that mindset that climate is not a peripheral issue. It's really about how people can get out of the house and cast their vote is something that needs to be ingrained into the politician's mind as much as it must be ingrained into the public's mind, because environment and climate are not some future issues of long-term implications lying out in the 2070, and they are not the net zero goals in the future. They are the here and now. And I think just the political mindset, recognizing the here and now and seeing how much preparation needs to be done. Look at the preparations that the Election Commission are doing right now. They're setting up shades and water arrangements, and all kinds of things are being done as mitigation measures to make sure that both those who are conducting elections and those who are coming to vote are able to vote. But this is really patchwork at this moment. I think in the next couple of years with the kind of heat wave the Indian subcontinent is facing. And there is data to show that. You look at the map of the world today with the heat waves, and Asia is quite red in terms of high temperatures, but India is just a fiery ball of fiery mass, and it's very high temperatures in large parts of eastern India, peninsular India, heat waves in states like Kerala, which never saw heat waves before, changing weather systems. And I think it will just be a basic requirement of the election process to pay heed to the weather and to pay heed to how people will go out and vote. We saw this time as well, the voter turnout was less, and it's very hard. It's the first time in that sense where we are trying to place climate issues right next to voter turnout, and you can do nitpick, and you can say that it's not directly related, but very soon it will be very directly related to everybody.
And how can you not take climate? Tathagat Satpathy, I have exactly 30 seconds and I want you to come in and respond to this. How can your politicians or how can a country not take climate change seriously, given the fact that we are in the month of May? In some parts of the country, you have a severe heat wave. The frequency of heat waves, the duration of heat waves is increasing. And then there are parts of this country up north where in May you're witnessing snowfall. Do you think this is the last, 2024 is the last summer election that India should have?
So when do you have elections? You can't have them in monsoons. If you do it in winter, then there's a large part of North India, the mountainous regions where you cannot have polling. So this is probably the only time we can have polls, and I don't think this is a bad time. This is one thing.
February,
Second
March?
thing is, to finish my thing quickly.
February, March? What's the problem with February, March?
February, March would be inaccessible in many parts of North India. I am certain parts of Leh, parts of Kashmir, Uttarakhand would be inaccessible. I'm not very sure of the particular areas, but I'm sure if somebody actually studies and finds out, there will be large tracts of areas which would be inaccessible. So that would be a problem again. And monsoons, it's a problem throughout, from Kerala to Odisha to Assam to wherever. So I think this is the only dry season, and it is okay if the politicians get the brunt of the heat. Let them have the fun. There is no harm. And as long as you are comfortable, how does it matter? Secondly, I have read quite intently the manifesto of the Congress party, the BJP, and the local Biju Janata Dal. And except perfunctory mentions about climate change, none of these political parties have bothered to address climate change in the next 5 years. So that is more important for me. And I think sometimes it is good if politicians get the heat, literally.
But we are also getting the heat as voters in the election commission and security forces as well, Tathagat Satpathy. But we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you for your perspective, Aarti Khosla. We'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. It was great to have both of you and get your perspective on why India should suffer summer elections. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. I have a very interesting guest coming up next. Do stay with us.